Greetings, fellow humans. Bad Mark here with another transmission from Metre Keyboards, and today we're doing a build of a keyboard that I purchased myself from KBD fans. It's something I've been wanting for some time. Not this particular model, but when I saw it, I was like, ooh! And I had, let's say I had $20 or $25 credit. Didn't take off much, but this is an HHKB, which is my first aluminum HHKB. I previously built the YMDK M0110, and I've actually enjoyed using it. So when I saw this one, though my discount was roughly 10%, I still was like, I have to get this. This is one of those keyboards that just, as soon as I saw it, the lines, the curves, everything, I was like, I just got to buy it. So today I'm just going to build this out really quick using all of the foams, everything included. I've got some screw-in stabilizers ready to go. And I think I know switches and keycaps that I'm going to load, but we'll get there when we get there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by opening up and showing everything that's included. But first of all, a full aluminum build HHKB with a really cool bottom weight, and has stars and the moon, shooting star or a meteor. Looks like it has spots for the way that it's curved, the way that it is laid out. It's a keyboard that really just grabbed my attention right away. I just had to have it. We have this beautiful case with that lovely copper weight. We have an accessories pack, which appears to have some screws. Okay, it does have sock gaskets. It has a Torx driver, and there are the feet. Let's go ahead and set this up here. Now, let's see for the accessories box. We have a polycarbonate plate. Looks like we have step caps lock, but I'm going to assume that's probably a 7 1/4 or 7.0. But we'll have to see when we get there. We have the PCB, which is an HHKB, and that appears to be the daughterboard, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is pogo pin. Yep, there's the pogo pins there. So that's where that goes. We have a knitting tool. Okay, I haven't seen this since my mom knit when I was a kid. That looks like the hook that you use to, is it knitting or is it crochet? I want to say it's knitting, but I could be wrong. We have some foams. It looks like we have an iXPE layer for above the PCB, as well as a foam layer for between the plate and the PCB. Very nice. For now, I'm just going to set all the accessories aside and go ahead and open up the PCB, because first thing that we'll need to do is go ahead and install the screw-in stabilizers. I gotta say, this is quite an interesting daughterboard. It actually has a PCB with the coil to go all the way over here for the pogo pins, which I gotta say, that's actually quite interesting. I like how that's done. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, that looks like the MCU is actually on the daughterboard, because I don't appear to see anything here. We do have downward firing LEDs, and it does look like we have a caps lock LED. So there probably is a PC version of this, or that would be my guess anyway. All right, I'm going to assume that these screws are to screw this down, so we'll go ahead and do that. Screws don't go too far in. Obviously, you don't ever want to over tighten too much. Just make sure that they're snug. Last thing you want to do is strip a screw. All right, once we make sure those screws are nice and tight, and there is just a little bit of play there, but I'm going to assume that this will work out just fine. Touching the pogo pins there. Alright, so let's set this aside for right now, and let's go ahead and get the screw-in stabilizers installed. I do believe I'm going to go the split backspace layout here, since we do have the options for those. Alright, we have all the pieces for the 3 sets of stabilizers we will be installing. Let's go ahead and add padding. These help to prevent ticking on the PCB. Just line them up and press down. As long as it's not interfering with the holes, you should be fine. Once we have the stabilizer dampening pads installed, we're going to go ahead and build out the stabilizers. And we want to go ahead and lubricate them so that we'll get the best performance out of them. Before doing this, I do like to install the stabilizer stems inside of the housing. They're ready to be assembled once the wire has been lubricated. As always, when installing these, you want to look for the top side, which has the 2 holes, and you want to slide that into the top of the stabilizer, or the opposite side where the screw is. Most stabilizers will be this way, though some are different. Alright, I like to use G-Lube. It's available from Ringer Keys. It's originally a Gazoo formula. And I like to dip the corner and slide the stem on the way in. Try not to get too much, but also not too little. I want to make sure that we got coverage all the way from the bottom all the way to the top. Basically, any of the parts that are going to be touching plastic. Once we get them in, we snap them in place. Go ahead and lubricate the other side of the stabilizer. Snap in place, making sure they're in the same. Now that we have the stabilizers built and ready to install, at this point, you'd want to decide if you're going to use the iXPE sheet that is included. And I'm going to go ahead and do it for this build. I personally prefer foams. I know some people don't, but I like the balanced sound that foams give, and they can always be removed should you want a different sound profile. It's always best to lay these down. I mean, if for some reason you don't want to take off the stabilizers and then you realize you do want this on there, you can make little cuts and scoot these underneath, but it's not something that I would recommend. Now that we have the iXPE sheet installed, let's go ahead and install the stabilizers. The clip goes into the bigger hole, and then we press in to lock the rest of the stabilizer into place. Now I am using a electric bit, though I do have it at the lowest torque. I do recommend that when building, especially if it's some of your first, go ahead and use a hand screwdriver to avoid any stripping or any issues. After each stabilizer, make sure that you have proper travel and no ticking. This is the best time to fix any issues you might have. Again, we want to ensure that all the stabilizers work as expected. Next, we can go ahead and overlay, or so. There we go. Alright, so we have that. We also have a piece for below the spacebar, which, again, I personally prefer to use, but this is a personal preference that everyone should decide on their own which they prefer. Now for this build, I did choose the polycarbonate plate. I am preferential to how polycarbonate feels and sounds. And what we're going to do, use the switches to keep the plate and the stabilizer in place for this build. I actually am going to be a little unorthodox for this build to keep it in tune, even though I'm going to go a little bit contrasty with the keycaps. I think I decided to go with these marble Feker. There are 2 versions of these. I have them both, and I actually like them. I like the Feker MMD, or the Feker Holy Pandas, as well as the Feker White Marble. These are the normal standard stem. They're a lighter, I'm going to say about 42-45 gram linear that has a nice pumpy sound to it, and I think that they'll fit right in with this build. So I'm going to go ahead and support the back of the hot swap socket from behind. As I push these in, I'm going to go for the corner spots first and then fill it in. Supporting the back of the PCB just ensures that you're not going to accidentally pop off a hot swap socket. So if we were using the stabilizer up here, it would be south facing, but in order to accommodate those 3 switch slots, those will be north facing. Just upon initial impressions, I think this is going to sound really nice. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and load up the rest of the switches. All right, we've got all the switches installed. It looks quite nice already. That white on white is very nice. So let's go ahead and go back to the case for a moment. Let's go ahead and we can install these afterwards. Let's go ahead and install the gaskets. This is a different gasket mount system, I believe, because the gaskets actually go on the case and not on the plate. And the way that I understand is that they go something like this. That down. Press that in. So they're almost sticking out. They do have a small spot that goes into that hole, and the other rest of the round part just kind of hugs the rest of that. I won't call it a post, it's more of just a metal tab that's sticking out. And I've already installed the below the plate foam. It feels like a very light iXPE foam, perhaps, though it could be a light neoprene. All right, we got those in. Thankfully, KBD Fans is kind enough to include a couple of extra gaskets. Now, we can go ahead and make sure that this is straight, and this should just slide on in. All right, we've got everything plugged in. I just want to make sure that everything is working properly and those pogo pins are making contact. It appears so. Oh, and some of that downward light does shine through. Nice. Very nice indeed. While we have it out, I'm going to go ahead and install the feet. I like the black. It does give a nice contrast. And let's hope these are well sticky. They do have a nice groove. And that little hole, a lot of people are like, is that a hole for a screw? And from what I've learned, or from what was explained to me, is that that hole is actually to create a bit of suction to ensure that those feet stay adhered. Makes sense to me. I've had a lot of feet come off of keyboards, but usually it's the strips and not the round ones. So let's hope these stay, but thankfully, if for some reason you do lose these, you can search on Amazon or any big box store and find what are called furniture bump-ons and just measure for the size. Usually you can find a pack of different sized ones and different shaped ones are fairly cheap. And a lot of times you'll find one that'll be just the right size or maybe just a little bit smaller, but you just want to make sure that it fits into the groove. Now usually on standard builds, I usually go with a cherry keycap profile because just to get a base sound, but as this is more a build for pleasure than for review, I decided to go with some MT3 caps, which I really prefer. So as I stated before, I like contrast, and that's why I was saying that I like the white and I also like black feet. So I'm going to load up white on black MT3, and I think it's my opinion that they're going to look pretty good, but I think it's going to sound really good. Now, I do believe that this keycap set does have all of the keys that I need for an HHKB layout, though I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I only did a once over real quick, but I am going to use some highlights with the white or the black on white keys. It's funny that for the numpad it's enter, but for the regular it's return. I'm going to go ahead and use the command key as the super key. So here we are with the fully built Agar with the MT3 White on black. I went ahead and switched out because I only had a single 1U alt. I just went ahead and went with the diamond key. We have the control, we have the command, which are the supers, we have the backspace, we have function over here. I've actually gotten used to this layout and I quite like it. And I gotta say, I love how it sounds. It sounds crisp, it sounds good, it feels nice. That bounce is tremendous. The only issue that I have is that it basically seems to just be sitting in there. I mean, there's nothing really that makes it feel any tighter. I mean, if I try to put it in this way, oh, okay. I guess it's you gotta put it in an angle, then it becomes a lot more wedged in there. Just have to wedge it in there properly. Okay, so that complaint was fixed. That bounce is perfect. Don't get me wrong, I do like the previous HHKB that I built, but this one is just absolutely lovely. I love the contrast of the black and white. I love me a long space bar 7U. I just, part of me is like, switch these out, but I like that highlight. I've got to say, I was actually, when I first started, for some reason I was thinking, I bought this one in the Pavlov, so that's where I was saying that the $20 coupon was basically 10% off because I spent over $200, but it was because I got this one in the Pavlov, 65%, one that I also will be building. But this one is definitely going to be my primary for right now. Obviously, I will maintain a rotation because I'm still have some keyboards in review, and like I said, I'm adding the process of using them for at least a day, if not a little bit longer, so that I can find and report any issues or anything, any functionality that I might find only after using it for a bit. But I have to say, I am particularly fond of some of the KBD fan modules. I never did get the tofu because honestly, the color that I wanted was already sold out. I thought it was going to come back and it didn't. Now there's the tofu TKL. KBD fans have always been very communicative and very nice, but I don't have 10,000 followers yet. I'm almost there. And that's when they'll actually send me units for review. So I've had to purchase like the Tiger Light, KBD 67, other ones that I've purchased from them. And so far, I have been quite satisfied. I had a minor issue with my KBD 67 back in the day, and they took care of it like that. So their support is great. I don't know what's going on now with the tariff changes, so I'll have to see about that. But this is a lovely keyboard. It is definitely one of the nicest looking ones that I have out of the many. I really, really enjoy this. Like I said, I wasn't sure I was going to like the HHKB layout. Then I started using it, and I kind of, it clicked with me. I mean, obviously, I had a Mac back in the day. I didn't get it new. I got it a few years after it came out. I want to say 3 or 4 years. So it had the original Macintosh keyboard, which the HHKB was inspired by. So while I didn't use the Macintosh, I would say as much as, say, my PC at the time, I did find, at that time, I found the keyboard kind of limited. And I mean, just so, because the original design of the Magic keyboard, or the keyboard that came with the Mac, Steve Jobs basically was like, oh, well, let's put the minimal amount of keys on the keyboard because they're going to be using the mouse for everything because of their GUI, their operating system. And I kind of get it. I see why it was adopted by, I can't remember the designer, but Fujitsu was the one that really came out with the HHKB keyboards. And I actually do have one of those that I will be reviewing. I have not had a chance to get to it yet. But for now, I just want to leave you with the sound test of the Agar aluminum in white with Feker White Marble linear switches and MT3 White on Black keycaps. I do hope that you enjoyed this short but quick build video and sound test. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to know about this keyboard, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I do my best to respond to comments as quickly as possible. For now, I would like to wish everyone out there a wonderful rest of your day. And until the next transmission, keep calm and keyboard on.